All right, welcome to this episode of Long Island Nightlight Interviews. I'm really pleased to have our first EDM artist appear here on the station. So today I'm talking with Jim from Tampa, Florida, correct, Jim?
That is correct. Yeah, I'm here in really hot Tampa, Florida. It's right in
Okay,
August, so it's really warm here.
yeah. And Jim is from the EDM group 5nine3. And if you're watching this on either the webpage or the YouTube channel, you can see their logo. But if you're just listening, it's the digit five, the numeral five, nine spelled out, and then the digit three. So I just like to make things as like searchable and easy for people to find, so that they could follow up and everything on the music. Jim's music is available on all the streaming platforms. They just came out with a single on August 23rd called Banjo and the Beat, which is a real interesting combination of genres. So, Jim, I'm just going to give you the floor to talk about the group and talk about the most recent single, anything you want to say about that. And then after that, maybe we'll get into, talking about some of your other music.
Yeah, sure. So basically, the first project that I'm working on is 5nine3, and my whole concept with it is I want to blend genres. See, the way I look at the music industry now, I've been doing this for 24 years now. So I've seen the gamut. I was before social media, believe it or not. I mean, I remember when I first started using MySpace. So that's how far back it goes for me. So my whole concept with this project is I want to blend genres in a unique and like different way, something that somebody hasn't heard. Because if you want to hear any genre, if you're into any genre, say like big bass or whatever genre you're into, there's thousands of artists you can choose from. I mean, you have so many ears now to so many music that I wanted to come up with something that's different. So I try to take genres. I have a diverse background in music. I've done like everything from like country to, rock to alternative, EDM, all the different genres. I DJ'd a lot of different genres, so I have a lot of that background. So I drew on that for this. I tried to take country, but put like a trap beat to it. But I wanted it to appeal to both people who like trap, which is hard, and country, because I'm not a big fan of country. So if I could make a song that I liked, then I knew that I had probably something. So this was really an idea concept to diverge and take this project.
I've been listening to the song whenever I interview an artist or the bands. I try to, get to know them as much as possible. And I don't know if I've said this in an interview before, but the song sounds like it could be something that's very, very successful, very consumable, and I mean that in a real, complimentary way. It does have a very unique blend to it, but it also sounds like something that is very like contemporary and could become very popular today. So
Yeah, that was my whole idea with this project is I wanted to make like pop music. So everything is going to have that like radio friendly kind of shell to it, so that I'm trying to appeal to as many people as I can. So even like younger kids that are into trap, I've sent this to kids that are 17, 18 years old, and they loved it. So I knew that then that, okay, now I've got some, because I'm older. They like it, I like it. And the really weird thing was just the other day, I have a small social media following because this project is new. So I'm trying to get it rolling. So I'm really small. I don't get any messages. I got a message from like for me, a big artist saying that they liked my song. So I was like, well, how would you even hear my song? Because you're so big, you got to have such an audience. He said, oh, it was your advertisement. I was like, oh, so advertisements do work.
yeah, yeah.
That was interesting.
I mean, that's awesome to hear. I have to say, I'm not surprised to hear that too after listening to your music, because it like I said, it sounds like something that could easily be getting a ton of airplay on the radio.
Yeah. Well, that's my dream after 24 years. I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, if my my perception or my perspective means anything, if that's what you're aiming for, you're definitely on the right track.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome, of course. Now, is this a solo project? Do you work with others on this, or?
Yeah, this is all me. So all the social media, everything. Like people, I don't think realize how busy it is to try to be an artist and still have a day job. So
Yeah.
like I actually work, I work 8 to 10 hours pretty much every day. I get off 1 or 2 days a week, and then I do this. So what I thought is I was actually talking to my manager, and he said, well, why don't you on your stories, why don't you start putting what you do all through your day? So I said, that's a phenomenal idea. So now if you go to my Instagram and look at my stories, you'll see every day, like I wake up at 4:30 a.m. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. So just to give an eye for people, like, especially for younger artists, like I didn't understand how hard the music business was. I thought like I had an idea because I grew up in it. My mom recorded. So
Oh,
I thought I had an idea. No, it's way harder than I ever dreamed to,
yeah.
and especially now because I remember the time when everybody was a guitarist and then everybody was a DJ. Well, now everybody's an artist. You know what
Yes.
I mean? And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean that it's getting such like the pool's getting so polluted that you now have to come up with new and interesting ways of crafting yourself.
Um, you made reference to your mom doing some recording. Can you tell me more about like your background and how you got started in music?
Yeah, actually, so my mom recorded in the 60s. Her and her sister did. They were an a cappella group. They
Okay.
actually were discovered in a really small town in New York. I'm from a town of nobody. And they happened to be singing on the gospel on the radio at 16 or 17, and they got discovered.
Wow.
So I only recorded one album, and but they always sang like in church. So I grew up from the time I was 5 years old. I was singing, I was playing guitar, I was around like piano music. My whole life just it revolved around music. So, and that's why I started recording. Was actually I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to see how far I could take it. I started in 2000. It's been a long time.
You must have, and since 2000, you must have developed a lot of like, how do I put it, like technology, skills with the technology to do the type of music that you're doing.
Yeah, so it was interesting. So the first project I worked on was all loop based, basically like what Fatboy Slim would do. Like where you're just taking loops and you're making music out of loops. Because I really didn't understand how to connect me playing guitar and getting it into the computer at the time. So for me, it was easier just to take the loops and recreate them my own way. So I got good at loop based stuff. Well, then my mother passed away, so I stopped music altogether around 2016. And then I had an idea. I was like, well, why don't I make EDM, but make it with real instruments? So I started using guitar and, like violin and introducing new instruments in to the EDM project. And this is just a culmination of that, bringing both looped and real. So,
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting idea. I thought, I kind of, always sort of secretly dug like 80s freestyle and made
oh,
some
yeah,
early attempts at like playing that, with
yep.
instruments and stuff. So that kind of reminds, I wasn't very successful with it,
Well,
but
right, but do you remember that avant-garde nature of music back then, where people were like inventing new styles?
yes,
That's kind of what I want to do here. Like, remember Kraftwerk? Like when they first came out, like that was so inventive and different. And people were like, what is this new electronic sound? Or what is it?
yeah,
So that's what I want to do with my music. I don't want people to just come in and say, oh yeah, this is trap music. Okay, yeah, it's trap. I want it to be like, whoa, this is trap, but it's country, or it's like the next release I have coming out. It's trance pop. It's trance elements, but meant to be in a pop format that like you can enjoy. Like it's 3 minutes long, which is not trap at all or trance at all.
sure. Um, so
So
now so you're talking about your next release. Is that something that's planned, or do you know when that's coming out and all that, or?
yeah, well, uh, so in 2 weeks, I go into the phase of where I go, like with, my manager and everything, and we start researching like the feedback and everything on it. So as long as like the feedback goes well, I don't have to make a lot of changes to it, which I don't think I do. Then yeah, what I do is I do feedback on the song long before I release it. And then I usually make little tweaks, or I'll just dump a song. Like I had one song I was set to release before Banjo and the Beat. It just got really bad feedback. People didn't like it. So I was like, you know what? And they didn't like the vocal. So it's interesting. I took the vocal out and I just left it up on my SoundCloud as a demo. Like if you got vocals, maybe you can lay over top of them, just kind of an idea. I actually had somebody message me that they want to contract it for, I don't know, some project they're doing. So I'm in the works with that right now. So, and that just happened to be a demo that I just threw up. So it was really interesting.
It'd be great if you could make some use for it. And I think that that's pretty interesting to almost like, prior to movies coming out, there's always like a test audience, I guess. And it sounds like something similar to that.
Yeah. And one of the things I think like younger artists can learn, they're so excited to get their music out. And trust me, I was there. That was the big mistake I made, was you could easily, like, if you put out one really bad song and people hear it, trust me, they will remember that. When your songs come up again, they'll be like, oh man, that's that guy. You know what? They won't even give it a chance.
Yeah.
If you're sort of like, it's almost like the algorithms now, like if you do something wrong in the algorithms, they shadow ban you. Yeah. It was like that, but in real life, like people, they hear something bad, they're like, no, I ain't listen to nothing. Because I have artists like that I just, as soon as I hear the name, like I cringe.
So so it probably pays to have like a more deliberate approach. And try to tamp down the excitement of it, and be a little bit more methodical and sure of what you're doing.
Exactly.
I could definitely learn that myself. So so I've been listening to some other tracks. I subscribe to YouTube Music, so that's where I found. I've been listening to Hurt, for the Weekend Warriors, and Blame. I enjoy it all. Hurts stands out for me a little bit.
I just want to real quick say something about Hurts. That's actually I had a DJ friend of mine that we DJ'd in Nashville, we DJ'd in New York, we DJ'd all over the place. Well, just I made that song. He passed away. He overdosed on drugs in New York. And at the time I was in Nashville, but now I'm in Tampa. But he overdosed on drugs, and so I wrote that song for him. That song is actually about him. So BJ Drewski. So.
I'm sorry for your loss. I mean, prior to, I didn't know. Obviously, I didn't know about that, but you could definitely feel the emotion in that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
That's why it stood out a little bit more to me. Anything you want to say about the other couple of tracks for the Weekend Warriors or Blame, or?
Well, like for the Weekend Warriors, that was actually, so I grew up like I said, in a small town in New York, and there was nothing there. Like most people were like either around the poverty line or below. Like I actually was middle class. I was fortunate enough to live middle class in that area, which it isn't. It's really poor, but it's a step up. So I was lucky enough to at least have that. But I grew up in this town where there was 5 bars in a quarter mile. So all I saw growing up was these people. They would complain about their jobs. They were always in these factories, shit jobs, just terrible, conditions. And then they would blow their money. All by Sunday, they're done. They're broke. They have no money left, and they're doing it again. So that was basically a song for them. Like that was what I wanted it to be, a song that town would like want to get up and dance to, and that's what the whole point of the song was.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd make reference to Sam Cooke a lot. I don't know if you're aware of who Sam Cooke was or whatever, but that was something that he said at an early age that, he didn't want to be someone who, worked all week and made their money and then blew it on the weekend. Sam Cooke never had any other work other than being a singer. That's all he never had like a job.
Yeah.
And
right.
you just kind of reminded me of that. that sort of mentality.
Well,
When
you really should get to the point where you don't have to work, you want to work. Like you're
sure,
doing something you want to do because you're going to be more productive. You're never as productive having to work. Like doing my job number one, I'm not as productive as I am in music. Like
sure.
you know what I mean? So that's why, like, if you can just go down and put in 5 years of hard work and get yourself to a point, then you can turn that into, that's my hope is. Of course, I've been doing this for 24 years. So
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something that you have to be, dedicated over time, and you have to have that belief in yourself, and you have to be just tenacious with it. And it
yep.
sounds like you're doing all these things. Um, Now, um, I don't know where this fits in. Like I said, I try to do my homework on the artists and the bands that I interview.
Mhm.
Contemporary Japanese culture fit in somewhere?
Yeah, so actually, my son got me into Japanese culture. It actually started with we got into eating sushi and really liking sushi and learning all the different things there is to learn. And then he's always been into anime. I'm not really big into anime, but I can say that I watch it more now than I would have if he hadn't got me into it. But I'm just getting into the whole culture. The Japanese culture is so interesting. So I just got into that and I was like, you know what? I'm going to honor like this project will be so much fun. So I'm doing this for him, not for me. Like,
Oh,
you know what
cool.
I mean? Yeah. So like this, I'm hoping that I can lead him something with this project because I'm getting older now. Like it's more about like family and for him. So and
Because
I've raised him on my own since he was 7 months old. His mother just walked out. Like I came home one day, she just wrote a note, she was gone.
wow.
So yeah. So it's just been me and him for the longest time. And now he's, 20, 22 now. So
Does he show an interest in music as well, or?
I mean, he loves listening to music. He knows all the like he listens to a lot of stuff I do, like 90s alternative, harder music. I like harder music. I like dubstep, even though for some reason I can't create it.
Huh.
It's frustrating. But yeah, he's into music, but he's just not into making it, I guess. He'd rather just listen. He likes gaming. So that's his
Uh-huh.
passion.
Cool. All
Yeah.
right, so at least I was sort of on the money as far as asking about Japanese culture there. So,
That's right. Absolutely.
okay. Um, so I mean, you did already speak about how you got started and everything, and you grew up with your mom's influence. I have that in common with you. But like, who are the artists that influence you as far as even when you were younger or today? Like, who are the artists that leave an impact on you or inspire you?
Sure. Yeah. Well, when I started, it was all about EDM. I was into the 90s rave culture in Orlando, Florida. So, like, I was into all that break beat, like big bass, like, the old stuff. And so I listened to like Fatboy Slim. Actually, Fatboy Slim was the reason that I got into loop bass. I actually started doing it was like a propeller heads rebirth. It was just an old, yeah, the little knobs on it, but it was on a computer and you could just turn the knobs in sequence. And so I played with that until I understood what Fatboy Slim was doing. I'm like, well, I can do that. So I just started scouring the internet everywhere. I could download any kind of sample of anything. I was just sampling everything. And so I got good with sampling. And by the way, I think for artists coming in, that's huge. Learn how to sample like creatively and effectively. If you can sample something, you can do anything. It's really big for me right now. But anyway, so that was, but right now with my music, I'm trying to draw on everything from like AC/DC, like old 80s music, going back to even like swing, 50s music. I've got a 50s trap song I'm working on. So it's 50 music, but it's got a trap beat to it, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
So I draw on a lot of different bands, like from the 80s, 70s, a lot of different music.
cool. And I like that you provided some advice for folks who might be about sampling, that might be
Yeah.
getting into it. I'm personally not, I'm more of a rock influence guy, but also very much classical music
Oh
influence guy.
yeah. Mhm.
But I did take a liking to, I mean, I know it was very mainstream, but Fatboy Slim's Praise You. I love that
Oh
song.
man. Yeah, yeah. I was actually, believe it or not, I was just playing that this morning. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I love
Uh,
that song.
a cover band I was in years ago did that, and I played bass and piano, and I mean, it's a very simple piano line, but I really enjoyed playing that. So that was
Oh
really
yeah,
cool.
it was such a cool all his music, even not from You Come a Long Way, Baby, but even before that, with his Better Living Through Chemistry or whatever it's called. I can't remember, but the one with Michael Jackson on it. That whole
I,
album is it's more avant-garde than like the standard radio one that he did. So it's really cool.
yeah, I would have to, I'd have to go and
Oh
search
yeah,
that
for
up.
sure.
I don't know that much about him, but
Yeah.
even someone like myself who's kind of removed from that, I love that song. I was,
Oh
that was
yeah. Hmm.
that cut right through there. Um, yeah, so um, I just want to just take a look at my notes. I'm just the last thing I have here is just, I mean, I guess it's just going back to Banjo and the Beat. I saw the line, where the city meets the country, and I think that that's really catchy. It kind of embodies the song right there. So I just wanted to
So
bring that up.
yeah, when I was drawing on the lyrics for that, again, I went back home, and back home, well, we were from the country. Like we used to work on farms and stuff. So, like I remember we would just go up to, we'd have hill parties. We'd go up to the hills and just, we were 16, 17. We'd take some beer up there, just have play music and drink and just hang out, man, just sing or whatever we wanted to do. And I just wanted to draw that same kind of energy to this. But I got thinking, now that I'm more like urban, like I've lived in bigger cities and stuff. If I was to bring that new sound that I do now back home, like how would I intertwine that? How would I make that work? That was my concept. So,
I think you were real successful with that, with the most recent tune, Banjo and the Beat.
yeah.
I think that line where the city meets the country really sums it up right there.
Yep, absolutely.
Um, so as we're getting closer to wrap this up, I just want to give you whatever time you want to mention anyone, shout outs to anyone, talk about, what's next, anything like that, anything that's on your mind as far as, anything that I haven't touched upon. So, the floor is yours for however long you want to talk.
Uh, Yeah, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. So, obviously music is a big portion of what I'm doing, but I've been doing this for 24 years. What's really important to me now is motivating and helping others. I went through the last 10 years of my life were like, I mean, just extremely rough, like really bad. I just had the worst things happen. And about 2 years ago, that's when I just said enough's enough. I started working out. I put away everything. I didn't have friends. I didn't go out. All I did was music, workout, and job. And that's what I do now. And, you know, now that I've kind of figured out how to pull myself out in a negative mindset, I see a lot of these motivators and they're all coming from a positive mindset. Believe it, you can do it. Well, that's not true. Like I can believe right now $1 million is going to fall on my head. It's not going to. You know what I mean? So that a lot of the people with a negative mindset, they'll hear that and they'll think, "Oh, well, it doesn't work for me, so I'm broken." No, you're not. I figured it out. I know like what. So in my Instagram post, that's what I'm going to try to be doing is motivating others. So again, if anybody has any issues or anything like that, and you need to reach out, you can always DM me. You can always say, "Hey, can I talk to somebody?" I will be there. Like
That's
I'm always
awesome.
available. Yeah, because like I said, I don't have a life right now, and I'm okay with that. So like, if anybody needs anything, like you can DM me on any of my socials, and I'll definitely get back to you.
I mean, I personally appreciate that, and I'm sure anyone who views this or listens to that is going to appreciate that. That's an awesome thing,
Yeah.
Um, I think, folks, more people need to be like that, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, Jim, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I really do appreciate it. So like I said, I'm hoping to convince you to send some music my way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and and then if we could work that out, for those of you who are listening to this interview on Lionel Radio, stay tuned right after the interview, because I'm going to be spinning as much of 593 as I possibly can. And if you're viewing this on either Native Son Music Channel or on the Lionel webpage, just be sure to leave a comment, and keep Jim's words in mind. If you do need to reach out to somebody, if you watch this interview or listen to it, you can see what kind of a great gentleman he is. So maybe take him up on that if that's necessary.
Absolutely.
All right, so Jim, like I said, if you just hang out for a moment after I sign off.
Sure.
And,
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so everyone in Lionel land, I appreciate you checking this out. Be sure to look up 593, Where the City Meets the Country, Banjo on the Beat, and then look up some other songs like Hertz for the Weekend Warriors and Blame. All right, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Oh, oops. One more moment, please.
No problem.
That's it. Okay.